We are back. So hey guys, it's Natalie Diaz with Twiniversity. We're starting from scratch. I am here with Dr. Deena, and she is a partner here at Premier Pediatrics. We're in New York City. We're doing a quick introduction because we're already getting questions. The coverage has been weird. We don't know if it's Facebook or if it's us, but we will never leave you, and we will keep trying no matter what, because that's what we do, right?
We are here.
That's it. So you never have to worry about it.
No.
So thanks to our friends at Earth's Best today, which Dr. Deena is a consultant for them. So she is here to not only speak about Earth's Best, but really, as a pediatrician, you could give us tips and tricks and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
So we're super, super excited, and I do want to thank you guys for coming. So before, like most Twiniversity feeds, I usually ask you guys to tell me how old your 20s are, which helps us gear questions that Dr. Deena can answer better to the age of your kiddies. So thank you so much for hanging in there with us, and I know Julie is freaking out. But Jewel, I promise you, we're trying our best here. But I'm hoping that our friends at Earth's Best joined us again, because then if we have like any like formula questions, not formula, but like the literal formula of making stuff, that I love when the companies are on with us, so that you guys could. So Earth's Best, thank you. Look, so Earth's Best is back as well.
Earth's Best!
We did it! We did it! It's always something. But such is a life of a mom.
And this is true.
Yes. So in addition, of course, to being, you know, Twiniversity's big cheese and a fancy pants pediatrician, we are just regular people that will always roll with it. So I do want to, I want to find out a little bit more about you, and I'm always curious when people choose to dedicate their lives to kids, right? Because that's what we're doing. Like, what was the moment that you're like, I'm going to become a pediatrician forever?
It's so funny. I actually get asked that a lot.
It's a common question.
Yes. And so when I started medical school, I actually thought that I was going to do either palliative care or psychiatry.
Okay.
And as I started, because I had done my master's in public health before I went to medical school, really focused on health education. I really wanted to educate and to, you know, think a lot about how to make change in people's lives on a global and then on a personal level as well.
Okay.
And then I started doing my rotations, and I loved pediatrics.
Okay.
Loved.
And everybody,
yes, right? It's the best field ever. And then everybody, my family would say to me, I've never seen you this happy through med school. This is the happiest you ever are. And I was like, yeah, I love this. So then it was set. I knew I was going to be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
And then as I went through my residency at Columbia, I did my clinic on Thursdays, my outpatient clinic, which is sort of similar to when you're in a practice. And I found myself every week looking forward to Thursday. Like Thursday was the best day of my week. So I knew that I wanted to be a general pediatrician. And I really think the reason is that what I love about my job is the relationships.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was saying to you before, there are kids in this practice that I've met when the moms were pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, so I knew them from the belly. I watched teenage girls grow up, go to college, develop, you know, become people. And it's just this amazing relationship that you get to have. And at the same time, obviously your goal is to provide good medical care, provide good advice about parenting, about feeding, nutrition, sleep, all of that stuff. But what it does is you just have these like amazing, long-lasting relationships, and that's really special for me.
Now, I can imagine that, like, obviously, do most patients start out with you from newborns, or do sometimes you get people that come in, like, in, you know, for like us, right? So now Dr. Deena is our new doctor. We've just decided this morning. Very excited.
Yay, we're thrilled.
We're equally as thrilled. I speak on behalf of the entire Diaz duo family. So we're just due for our annual visits. Their birthday is on Saturday. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So this is perfect timing. So thank you to Earth's Best too for connecting us, reconnecting us, because we do realize that we know each other from Big City Mom Showers, definitely. But I feel like other circles.
I feel like we have other friends in common, definitely,
Yeah, it's a small, although it is a giant city of 6 million people, it kind of is a tiny island when you work in specific industries. So yeah, so in the baby world, I get around a little bit, and so does Dr. Deena, is how that goes. So one of the first questions that I do want to ask you, because we are excited to have kind of like a professional's opinion, is when should you introduce formula to babies. It comes up a lot because, you know, when, of course, we all have twins, right? So everybody out there has twins, and I did ask Dr. Deena to remember that we all have twins because
Absolutely.
it is a different situation when it comes to us. But we tend to use formula a little bit more than a parent of a singleton because that second breast is not, you know, there as backup for that back one. So how do you recommend, like when a patient comes in for the first time with their newborn twins, what do you recommend to them, and how do you discuss like formula, and how does that conversation go?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm going to tell you a really funny story about twins, though. My oldest, Nathan, who is about to turn 15, had 2 sets of twins as his best friends for like years, and he was so devastated to not be a twin, which was the funniest thing ever. And then because he had these friends who were twins, they were on these twin mom groups, so everybody he knew was a twin except for him, and it was such sadness.
Oh no.
But anyway, so we always used to like make up pretend twins. But anyway, to answer your question,
Yes.
you are absolutely right. Feeding with twins is definitely different and sometimes a little more challenging for new parents because tandem breastfeeding can be really hard.
Oh, yes.
And so while, you know, as a practice and as pediatricians, of course we support breastfeeding.
Yes.
And we know that, you know, we want parents to breastfeed.
Yeah, breast is definitely
and
always best.
The other thing that I really think is very important is that I think that the way sometimes people will approach feeding is that they feel like it's either all or nothing.
Yeah.
Either I breastfeed all the time or I formula feed all the time.
Why do we
and
think
it's
that?
not like that. And particularly for twin parents, I really want you to understand that it's not like that. That it doesn't have to be all one or the other.
Yes.
There is a world in which there can be a combination of both. And don't define yourself as a breastfeeding mom only if you exclusively breastfeed from the breast.
Yes.
If you are pumping, if you're doing breast milk with formula, you are a breastfeeding mom.
Hug me right now.
Hug it out.
I can't because everybody, like, it's so an all or nothing, and we had a wonderful live feed with a ridiculous response on hybrid feeding, which is basically all it is, right? It's breast, it's bottle, it's whatever you got, right? Well, not whatever you got, but clearly breast or bottle.
Yeah.
So breast is best, clearly. That's what especially if you have preemies, breast is definitely best, right? Because breast milk is deemed medically necessary for premature babies, but when you do have to, when you aren't making enough breast milk, what do we do to supplement? Like, how do you start that? And how do you know which formula to use?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think I find often with twins, definitely in the practice, and you guys can probably speak more from experience, having had twins, that what people will often do is they'll alternate. So they'll feed one twin on the breast at one feed, and then the other twin will get formula, and then they'll switch it out for the next time.
Okay.
And that often works out well. But, you know, if tandem breastfeeding isn't working for you, if you're not producing enough milk, if it's just too stressful for you, and you need to do formula, you want to start to think about, often you're actually introducing formula right away.
Yeah.
You know, and so I would recommend choosing an FDA-approved infant formula, and then I do tend to prefer an organic formula, so like a USDA organic formula, like Earth's Best formula, is something that I would recommend to parents, and that I definitely recommend all the time.
Well, one thing that we always talk about in Twiniversity classes is that when our moms are pregnant, everybody's so mindful about everything that they're putting in their mouth. But then often as soon as the babies are here, if they do need to have a formula, they never think organic formula. They never think of it as an option. But yet when they were inside of us, we were making all these organic decisions. And now that they're here in the real world, we're like, whatever. So I really do, I think it's an important discussion to have to bring organic formula back to the table. Also, there's so many families that come to Twiniversity class that opt to buy formula overseas because of their organic regulations, but then, of course, they run out of formula, and then they end up going to Walgreens and then just buying what's ever there. So I always recommend, if you're going to start off with something that's accessible, that you could get your hands on pretty quickly, which, thank goodness, Earth's Best is literally everywhere.
Totally. So
we could pick it up any place, but it's one of those things that it should translate from pregnancy to newborns, but very few people, like the breastfeeding and bottle feeding all or nothing, they kind of think the same way too, that, it didn't matter, it mattered for me, it didn't necessarily matter for them.
Yeah, and if you think about kind of, in general, what your baby is eating, it is for the first 4 months of life, breast milk or formula. So your baby's calories, let's say you are formula feeding only, are really all coming from formula. So think about what's going into them. You want that to be organic.
Yeah.
You want that to be, in my opinion, you
fun.
want that to be organic because it's the same thing as what you're thinking about when you're eating or when you're breastfeeding, what you're eating, what's going into your body. So taking care of yourself, taking care of your baby, making good choices in that kind of way.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to keep in mind is that in the United States, the infant formulas are regulated by the FDA in terms of nutritional components.
Only. Just the nutritional components, not the organic.
No, not by organic. Yes. So all formulas have to meet certain nutritional components.
Yes.
And so knowing that you're buying a formula that's FDA approved, like Earth's Best, and that is organic, gives you the, the option to know that your baby is getting the appropriate nutrition in terms of like how much protein, how much fat, how much calcium, how much phosphorus, all of that kind of stuff. And so you have that, plus you know that they're meeting the USDA recommendations. And in order to be USDA organic certified, many people don't know this, you actually have to be using organic processing for at least 3 years. And
that makes sense.
Yes, to really prove that you're doing it.
Yes.
And so what it means is that using organic decreases your child's, so any product cannot be exposed to chemical pesticides, conventional pesticides, herbicides, other chemicals that might be used. Any animal product that's used to create it cannot have growth hormone, cannot have antibiotics. So it is a regulated product, and I think that that's important to understand.
It really is, and I don't think people pay attention to that, or they're not really realizing that there is such a big difference in organic versus not organic. And the thing that I think people also think is that organic is so much more expensive, when it's really not. If you do a price comparison, it's barely a price difference, and sometimes if you have coupons or if you catch a good sale, there's no difference, and sometimes it could actually be cheaper. But there's this stigma of that it's going to be so much more expensive and I'm not going to be able to afford it. All right, Dr. Deena, we got a question already.
Oh,
are you ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so Crystal says that her twins are 4 weeks old today. Congratulations! Hearts, everybody, to Crystal, please. 4-week-old babies. We want to share the love. So her twins are 4 weeks old today, and she does give them some breast milk because she pumps, but mainly she gives them formula because she doesn't produce enough breast milk. Is there a chart or an amount that we could follow based on their age for the serving size?
So there's general recommendations, and so in a 4-week-old, it also depends on their growth. So you obviously need to talk to your pediatrician because you need to be focused on growth, and that's very important. And so if for some reason your babies aren't growing well, your pediatrician may have you feeding on a more rigid schedule for some reason. But let's imagine that we're talking about 4-week-old twins who are growing well, who weren't super preemie, and that. So in that situation, I would say on average, babies will take about 3 to 4 ounces per feeding, and they're usually still taking somewhere between 7 to 9 feedings a day.
Yes.
And so that would be kind of what you're looking at. And then what I would say is if by some wonderful miracle your babies are sleeping at night, babies who are growing well do not need to be woken at night to feed once they're past their birth weights.
Yes.
And so that applies to if you have 2-week-old twins, when they hit their birth weights, you don't need to wake them to feed. You can feed them on demand, whether with breast or with the bottle. So it turns out it's somewhere around, usually about every 3 hours. Sometimes kids will take a slightly longer stretch at night, so you might feed a little more frequently during the day. So generally, you want to take your cues from your baby in the same way that you want to take your own feeding cues. So if your baby is pushing the bottle away, is telling you they're done at 3 ounces, that's fine. And so you might find you have one feeding where they're taking 4 and another one where they took 2.5. And so you don't have to be rigid and feel like I must get 3 ounces every certain amount of time, because you don't want to be kind of insisting that your baby eat when they're not hungry.
And they kind of eat for the day, right? They don't eat for that feed. So just like you said, it may be an ounce here and then 5 ounces in the next one, which makes it so challenging, so challenging. And I also want to say, if you are, like you're saying that you are producing a little bit of breast milk, for us, what we would recommend is, and back me up, and if you disagree with this, you have to say that you disagree.
Yeah.
And by the way, at no times is my word law, and if you need to like supersede, I'm totally down with that.
Okay.
But when a mom has breast milk and formula, I really do recommend that it's in 2 different bottles and that you don't mix it together, because if the baby didn't finish it, then you have breast milk in there that's kind of going to waste. So if you are going to do a combination of breast and, bottle-fed breast milk and formula, it sounds crazy that you're going to have 1,000 bottles in the house, but if you give them the breast milk first and then kind of the formula chaser, you know that they got all of the breast milk, because you don't want to throw it in the garbage.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Now, an exception to that, and where you may think something a little bit different, is a mom who's been exclusively pumping and then decides to introduce formula.
Yes.
Because the tastes are slightly different.
Yes.
Sometimes you do end up mixing them together.
Yes.
And so it's not that it's not okay to mix them together, but as we all know, if you've ever pumped, pumping is
Work.
Oh, it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
And it's not
work.
a party. And so, if you lose that ounce or half an ounce, you're like crying.
Yes.
And so yes, you don't want to lose your breast milk, because there it is, and it's not. If you throw out some formula, you certainly don't feel the same emotional response to it. At least I find that.
But just like when you're introducing solids, like let's say you were doing carrots and green beans, you mix a little bit of the green beans and the carrots if they got used to it, so then they could start getting used to the taste.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing with the breast and the formula. But so if you were only doing it one way, know that there's wiggle room in this whole thing. But try to separate it, because I never want, and it's not a party, by the way, is going to be my quote of the day. Because pumping is not a party. No, totally not. But we feel that. And I want to know also, so thumbs up if you guys are pumping right now. I'm curious to know our pumping families and our breastfeeding families, and I love that you guys are here. We have so many questions.
I want to just say one thing, interestingly, about the Earth's Best formula, is that they are using lactose as their sugar, and they're not using corn syrup solids.
That's a big deal.
And that's a huge,
it is a huge deal. We should have said that before.
And that more closely, their formula is set up to closely mimic breast milk. Obviously, formula can't be breast milk, but what Earth's Best is trying to do is create an organic version that's well tolerated and that is as close to breast milk as possible.
And also digestion-wise, since they're already so accustomed to drinking your breast milk and processing it in their bodies, it's really important to have a formula that mimics breast milk so closely. All right, so now, if you have watched Twiniversity live feeds, Dr. Deena hasn't played with us before, but there's a certain time that's occurring, and I want you guys to tell me what time it is. You're going to now see comments that are going to pop up, because it's almost like a ritual. And by the way, it started as an accident. I don't know if you guys even know this, but it was a total accident of how this happened, but now we've made it a ritual at Twiniversity. So what time is it, guys? And if you know what time it is, Marnie called it. It's prize time.
It's prize time.
Ooh, 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 this is our party dance. Because it's work, guys. It's not a party. Well, this is a party now because it's prize time.
Yay.
So guess what we're giving away?
What are we giving away?
We're giving away a case of Earth's Best formula.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
It really is crazy.
Yeah.
It's these 4 giant canisters of Earth's Best formula, and I want to talk about the different types of formula that they have too. So it's going to be the formula that your babies are drinking right now, so it's going to go right in harmony with that. But yeah, we're giving away a case of Earth's Best formula.
That's so great.
And how about this? So they have to choose something to say, so we know that they want to win. So what you have to say if you would like to be entered into the chance to win this case of Earth's Best formula, well, the only thing you have to do is say, it is a party. That's it, right? It is a party. It's something so simple. We always make them comment, and if you guys are always wondering why we make you comments, because not everybody wants to win. Sometimes people are just coming for the information, and we don't want to just randomly pick somebody. So if you do want to win the case of Earth's Best formula, which thank you so much, by the way, for Earth's Best for giving this to us, all you just have to say is, it is a party, holla. All right, while you guys are answering and participating, we're gonna go into kind of our next question. And so our next question goes along with that. So tell us about the different types of formula that are out there, because if you go to a store and you look at the shelf, it's ridiculously overwhelming, right? So there's like a basic formula, then a lactose-free, and then a soy-based. So what are the types of formulas that Earth's Best has, and how does a family know if they need to change?
Right. So usually I would recommend starting with the milk-based formula, the regular one, the one that we're giving away,
which is the red
one.
That's
yes.
What I call it.
And you know, and I generally feel like if it's working, you stick with it. Okay. If your baby is having a lot of trouble with gas or having trouble tolerating it, they do make a sensitivity formula.
Okay.
And then one thing that I think is actually a really important topic and isn't discussed a lot is what's called a milk protein intolerance.
Okay.
And so what that means is that actually it's not an allergy in the way you would think of an allergy, like I eat a nut, I eat milk, and I have hives all over my body.
Okay.
But it typically will present after 2 weeks of age, and it can present with blood in the stool.
Okay.
Is actually one of the most common presentations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, well, yes, of course it's upsetting as a parent, and if you see blood in the stool, you should call your pediatrician, but that is one of the most common causes of it. And so milk protein intolerance, most kids do end up outgrowing it, but they can't have a dairy-based formula.
Okay.
Okay, and then 30% of kids that have a milk protein intolerance will go on to also have an intolerance to soy. And so the best thing is actually a hydrolyzed formula, which is a broken down formula. And the great news, and I'm so excited about this is one of my favorite things, is that Earth's Best is actually coming out with one in the spring. Really? And it's going to be an organic hydrolyzed formula.
Really?
And that's huge.
That's very exciting.
Yes. And I'm just so excited about it because
we get so excited about these things. Like in this industry, it's rare that like new things come out that make you excited. So it's like a new baby formula is coming out.
Well, it's also to be able to offer parents who need a hydrolyzed formula in organic version, I think is just so wonderful.
I agree.
You know, and that makes me happy.
Yes.
So that's going to be look for that in the spring. You know, right now that isn't the case, but so if your child has a true milk protein intolerance, which obviously you would discuss with your pediatrician, then you would move to a hydrolyzed formula.
So we're looking for blood in the stool.
Blood in the stool, severe fussiness with feeding. It can be challenging because obviously 5-week-olds, 6-week-olds are gassy and fussy, and it's a little bit hard. And so it's always good to talk to your pediatrician. And if you're ever concerned, you actually can bring in a stool sample. And there's a test we can do for hidden blood in the stool. So if you don't see the actual blood, sometimes it's hidden in there. And there's a test that we can do for that as well.
Is it done in the office?
Yeah.
Okay, so everything is done right here. So
well, it's done in our office. I can't speak to every pediatrician's office. But it is done we do it in our office. And I'm mindful to it because actually I have 3 boys. My 2 oldest had milk protein intolerance. And with my oldest, I was still in medical school, and I didn't really know a lot about being a pediatrician because I was a first-year medical student. And so it took a while for it to get diagnosed, and he was really fussy and irritable. And so I didn't know that I was supposed to cut milk out of my diet. And so I tend to be really mindful with parents about it because it's an easy fix. It doesn't mean just because your kid is fussy that that's what's going on, but it's certainly something to look for. And there are, I mean, as a breastfeeding mom, you would cut all dairy out of your diet, and sometimes soy if necessary. And as a formula feeding mom, you choose, or a combo mom, a hybrid mom, I love that.
Thank you.
Then you would choose a hydrolyzed formula. So there are options, and sometimes you can see a lot of improvement in the baby.
Unbelievable. Well, guess what? Nicole's the winner. Congratulations,
Yay,
Nicole. We're very excited for you. Everybody, congrats, Nicole. So we have more questions. So we got the formula out of the way. We got our prize time. Now, when we do deliver, regardless, like of course we're going to try to breastfeed, but should we have formula in our home? And should we get like the milk-based formula? Like what should we have ready so that we have something in case, you know, we have to go to plan B at home once we're home?
Yeah, I think having some formula at home is a good idea.
Okay.
And yes, like I said, I would start with the milk-based formula. If you've had an older child who's had a milk protein intolerance or multiple, you might chat with your pediatrician about what to do. Usually we'll still recommend starting with the milk-based formula. And I think it's always better to be prepared.
Yeah.
So in the same way that you're going to have a car seat, you're going to have a
that's what I mean. Like,
you're going to
have
have,
the basic
you may
stuff.
not end up needing to use it, or
Yes.
actually has a long shelf life. Most formula does, which is good. And so maybe you're not going to use it in the first month or two, and you're going to end up going back to work, and you're going to want to introduce formula at that time if that's your choice. And so I think having it in the house, you don't want to ever be in a situation where at 2 a.m. you're running around like a crazy lunatic trying to find formula because you're having some sort of problem. So I think being prepared as best as you can be, obviously for this major change in your life, which is with one baby a lot, so two even more so. So being prepared ahead of time definitely makes the transition, I think, a little bit easier.
Absolutely. We also recommend in classes that you have a week's worth of formula. So you have a week's worth of formula, not only because you don't want to have to run out and buy it, but also because if you know that you have to shop ahead of time, you could always get the best price. And so 2 college tuitions, hasn't gotten any cheaper in the history of college tuitions. So if there's a way that you could save, stock up a little bit, but if you don't open the cans, if you bought them from someplace, and let's say you did have to switch to, a soy-based formula or something, if the cans were closed, you usually could go and return them. But once the cans are open, clearly you can't do anything. But we have more questions. Okay. So do you know what the shelf life of the formula is? Well, Earth's Best could chime in.
Yeah, let's have them chime in.
We
I
want to
don't want to say exactly. I mean, I could
either.
Google it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Now, do you know if they have a formula that's geared towards preemies?
I do not believe that they do.
I don't believe that they do either. So that was another question that Melissa had. So Melissa, I want to just call you Mel because my BFF is Melissa. So Mel, I don't think at the time that they do have anything that is for preemies. Also, Julie has Earth's Best right next to her. She has a can that's expiring in 2020.
Okay.
So that's too funny. So yeah, so it's quite a while. Like it's not going to get us through the next 25 years. But,
and in terms of preemies, it depends how preemie they were, whether or not they need a special preemie formula. And you'll work with your pediatrician. You may not, it's often for the first 6 months that you need that because it's just a little bit more caloric. So you can get like a little more bang for your buck. The calcium phosphorus balance is a little bit different.
But as Dr. Deena is saying, not every preemie needs them. So my preemies didn't need a special
How early
formula.
were they?
They were 6 weeks early.
Right. So it
and they were tiny, and we spent a month in the NICU, and I was assuming that we were going to need some kind of special something, but everybody was.
I mean, but if you have a baby, twins that are born at 27 weeks or 25, 26 weeks, usually they will leave on a transitional formula.
Yes.
And then depending on their growth, you will work with your pediatrician.
Now, another big question that comes up is, let's say that our parents out there are concerned about feeding problems that their twins are having. How could they start that conversation with their pediatrician? Should they wait for the appointment? Should they email them? Should they call them? How do we begin having that conversation about potential issues that we think our twins are having?
Okay, so I think that comes down to kind of, is your practice accessible? And part of choosing a pediatrician is choosing a practice that's accessible. I feel that if you have a question, you should reach out to your pediatrician. Now, you don't need to call them at 2 in the morning unless it's urgent, but we are available for questions every single, during the day, on weekdays when we're open. We also, if your practice uses an EMR, which is an electronic medical record, or we use a texting app called Clara as well, you can message them, you can ask a question through the practice portal. I never ever feel that people should wait until their appointments because I don't think you should be at home being worried about your child when you could call me. So I would rather hear from someone than hear them say, "Oh, I've been so upset for the last 2 weeks."
Yeah.
"Oh, I would love to talk to you than 2 weeks ago." If you're worried, call me. Now, one other thing is that babies really are in a lot in the beginning, particularly actually in our practice. What we do is we see babies within 2 to 3 days of discharge, which is the AAP, American Academy of Pediatrics recommendation. And then we will see babies every 2 to 3 days till they're back up at birth weight. And so you're in a lot. And so that really does give you the opportunity to ask questions. And we are available. And so, but if you are, let's say your baby's we're up to birth weight and then you didn't come in again until the 5-week visit, you should call. You should not be at home wondering, is everything okay? Am I doing the right thing? That's why you have pediatricians. That's our job, to work with you, to guide you, to answer your questions. And there's no such thing as a stupid question or anything like that. And people expect new parents, pediatricians expect new parents to have lots of questions. We know that's the case. So, call.
So do not
please.
wait. Do not wait. Call or text or email, whatever, but don't leave it hanging on your mind until your next appointment. You definitely want to get that off of your mind as quickly as possible.
Especially as the appointments start to spread out, like
in
2 to 4 months.
It could be a while.
It's the truth.
I can't even imagine how many times I called my doctor, like thinking about it now. And also with twins, I would call on a Tuesday and then have the same problem on the Thursday, and then just have to be like, but now what's happening with the other one? What do I do now? So, so we do have more questions. So the next question that I had is, I love the one about speaking to our doctor. So we got the formula. Okay, so now I'm going to go off record and just ask general questions.
Sure.
So now, if we do, like, let's say we are breastfeeding, and we're breastfeeding to the tap. Okay, so we got this. We're not even pumping. Everything's good. But now we do want to have our partner involved. And maybe we don't want to necessarily pump for whatever reason, and we do want to introduce formula to them. How could we introduce the bottle to the baby without having this, this epic nipple confusion that everybody talks about? Is there a way that you could introduce a bottle but not have the baby turned off next time you want to breastfeed them?
Yeah, so a lot depends then again on when you introduce the bottle.
Okay.
So, in your world that we just imagined, everything's going great. So you're tandem breastfeeding, you're like rocking it, you could be on the cover of Lactation, whatever. Fine, that's great. I usually tell parents at the 5-week visit, like, now is the time. Like, I would say between 3 to 5 weeks, you do, if you want your child to take a bottle, you should introduce a bottle. Because what ends up happening is that you end up with these 4-month-olds who won't take a bottle. And then perhaps you want to go to the movies, or get your nails done, or go on date night once your kids are maybe a little older and starting to sleep. But if they won't take the bottle and only take the breast, that's really challenging. So parents actually end up in the other situation. So in your perfect world like that, where you haven't yet introduced the bottle, around 3 to 5 weeks, I usually say like a bottle a day, a bottle every other day, either of express breast milk or formula, whichever your choice is a good way to do that. Now, nipple confusion, let's say early on you are having struggles with breastfeeding, it does not mean that you won't be able to successfully breastfeed if you are doing hybrid feeding, or as I like to call it, I don't love the word supplementation, I like to think of it as bridge feeding. So if a mom's goal, her feeding goal is to exclusively breastfeed twins, she may have some time until her milk comes in. She may have some time until, especially with your first babies, it's like such a steep learning curve, and it's actually a learned behavior, because when I think about latching babies, it's like a muscle memory for me. And so
it is a muscle memory. It totally
and
is.
so it's learning something totally new for you, and keep in mind your babies are learning something totally new for them too. So it's not unreasonable for people to struggle in the beginning. And so it doesn't, and let's say, and like I said, if you want to exclusively breastfeed twins, in some cases that's possible, and your goal, and so that can happen even if you are using the bottle in the beginning. So I don't want people to freak out and feel like that. I mean, we want your baby fed, we want your babies growing. One of the cool things about our practice, just to shout, is that we actually have a lactation consultant who works with us. And that works through insurance. And so a lot of our twin moms work with the lactation consultant. They'll see her every week.
Is that part of the practice?
Yes.
Like, so does that get billed through the practice?
Yes. So your insurance covers it. It's unique and it's exciting, and it's one of the I mean, there's so many amazing things about our
Do you
practice, but
see
this is
the
not about our
wheels
practice.
turning?
But it's really, really an excellent option that we have here that many other practices don't.
I don't understand why everybody doesn't do that. Like,
It's
really, if you're
complicated
really
to
thinking
set
about
up. It takes a lot of time, and that might be why. I don't know. But
Does everybody take advantage of it?
some people need to, some people don't. But yeah, she's usually full, and most of the twin moms see her.
Oh my God, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And see her like maybe a couple weeks in a row.
Yeah.
We'll do follow-ups with her.
I'm
while they're
so
getting used
excited
to
about
it.
that. You have no idea. That is, like, that should be a universal, like, in your every pediatric office throughout the world. I wish that was a common thing to do, and that's so smart of you guys to realize that those questions that you could be answering can be answered by an IBCLC or whatever.
Well, actually,
So-
they're better answered.
Yes.
Because, and actually, my partner Julie, who we
Genius.
met before, Dr.
Yes.
Julie, she is an IBCLC also. So she herself will also work with. She's a pediatrician and IBCLC, and I'm gonna probably get my IBCLC as well.
Good for you.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
but
that's so
it's
exciting.
actually like the lactation consultant, from a practical standpoint, sometimes is more helpful from teaching the latch. And actually, what happens is the visit's booked for an hour, and so you see her for about 50 to 55 minutes, and then the doctor will come in.
Mhm.
So you get your questions answered also, going back to those
Genius.
questions. And so she has the time to spend with the new
Yes.
moms that, like, typically I don't have an hour to help somebody latch. Occasionally it'll end up working out that it's my last patient or something like that, and it brings me so much joy to do that with the moms.
I
Like,
could imagine.
to latch a baby, and like it brings them so much joy, and that's usually like a really nice bonding moment. And another time we can talk about some of the interesting things we do here in the practice, focused around the first couple months of life around postpartum,
I'm
and
so
mood
stoked.
disorders and all of that kind of stuff, because
I love this.
that's something that's really important to us.
I
And
feel like I found a
feeding.
home. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And you were here how long are you here?
I've been here for about 9 years.
All right, so you weren't here when my twins were born.
No.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad now. 'Cause
Not
I'd
me
be like,
personally,
oh.
but the practice was.
All right,
And
now,
we didn't have a lactation consultant then.
well, I think that it's
We've had her, I
definitely
think, for like
something-
5 years.
That's a
We've been
lot.
doing it, yeah.
Our Julie in Chicago said that her Pete has an LC in-house. I think it's just so
Good.
smart. All right, guess what time it is, guys? You know what time it is, so shout out what time it is, and we're going to get one question, and then we are going to give away another something of this certain time that it is. We have one more set
So we do-
of those things.
What time is it?
That's it. What time is it, Doc? That's what time it is. It is a prize time. Thank you, Marnie. Never letting me down, by the way, I have to say. Marnie's definitely one of our, she's always there. I love that. Every time I see your name, Marnie, know that I see you, and I love that you're there. So it's prize time again. We're giving away another case of formula. Well, come on, it's twins. Like, it is a lot. And I
That's
love
true.
that Earth's Best acknowledges that there is a lot of formula
Earth's Best
necessary.
is committed to making organics affordable, and I think that's
It really is, though. I was looking on Amazon and I was doing some price comparisons, and I think people are going to be shocked that it isn't any more expensive. It really isn't. I mean, it's moderately. I shouldn't say it's not any more expensive, depending on the other formula that you're choosing.
Right.
By the way, remember, we are in New York City, so as you hear sirens and stuff, but I never worry when it's one siren. I never think about it. Do you think about it? Like, as a New
I don't
Yorker?
know. There's so much noise in the office that
You
it's
don't
like
pay
I
attention?
don't even hear it.
No, I hear them. I hear it, and then if it's like more than one siren, then my ears perk up. Usually one is white noise, but then I'm like, why is there a fire truck and an ambulance going? Could you tell the difference in the sirens as a New Yorker?
And I grew up
I
here.
play that all the time,
I'm the worst.
by the way. Matt, where are you? Oh, I love Matt. So Marnie, yes, I love me some Matt York. Do you know who Matt York is? I'll introduce you to
Okay.
him online. You're gonna like him too. All right. So the question that we had. Oh, so if we want to win the case of this, what should their saying be? We're gonna let you choose. What do you think that they should say? They can't say price time because it is price time.
Oh my God, this is too much pressure for
I know
me.
it's a lot of pressure. It's too much for you. Do you want me to just take it from here? Could you not handle it?
I think I can do it.
We're just gonna. Okay, you
I
can
think
do
you
it.
should say, pediatricians rock.
That's it. And if you're like, pediatrician is too much for me to spell it this time, just
You could say
peds.
peds.
Peds is fine. Peds rock. Yes, we agree. Love it, love it, love it. See how simple that was? It could be anything like Happy Thursday or whatever. I've chosen
pineapple.
That's it. The weirdest things have come up for prize time. But that's it. So now you know.
What is the weirdest thing that you think has come up?
What is the weirdest thing that's come for prize time? I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Julie. Julie, do you remember what the weirdest thing is? Usually over the summer, like I'm super, like my hair is down. I'm just like sitting outside, like doing nothing. And I come up with the stupidest things for them to say. And I don't want to say they are the stupidest, by the way. But it's fun.
Or funniest.
It can't be. I don't want this to be like so serious. And while we are talking about a serious topic of feeding your newborns, at the same time, you're not the first person to feed a newborn, and you're going to be fine. And when you have people in your corner like Dr. Deena and like Twiniversity, you don't have to worry about these things.
And
like
if you don't feel like you're going to be fine, you should be calling your pediatrician.
Yes. You absolutely, and they should be in your corner just as much.
100%.
And also on that first week that you're going there, if like you're just seeing them for the first time, ask all the questions. Don't wait for them to give you information. How do I get in touch with you in the middle of the night? If there's an emergency, what hospital should I go to? Ask all of those questions.
Did you know that you can do a prenatal visit? You can actually meet with pediatricians while you're pregnant.
I don't think
and get
every
all that.
pediatrician is as excited about that.
Well, I'm excited about it.
I know you're excited about that, but you
Well, if you want to come to our practice and meet with us while you're still pregnant with your cute 20s,
you're in.
We're in. We love that. And you can get all that information there. And then the other thing is write down your questions.
Yes.
Because God knows you are not going to remember them. And honestly, I feel like when I go to my OBGYN, when I'm pregnant, I can't remember any of my questions either.
You can't, though.
And I get there, and she's like, do you have any questions? And I say, no.
I did.
I say, no, everything's great, everything's great. And then I walk out, and I'm like, oh, I had those 30,000 questions.
Oh, yeah, you got to write them down.
Write them down.
I also recommend that put a voice recorder on an app, and just leave it running for your entire appointment. So then if you ask the questions, because just because you got the questions out doesn't mean you're going to remember what the answers are. Especially
People write them down, or they put them in notes on the app.
Notes is good, but if you have the two kiddos and you're sitting in the peds office, right, you may not be able to do that.
I probably will have stolen one of them and called.
Oh, thank goodness. I love that. All right, I really genuinely want to ask you like 12,000 questions. But my next question that I have is one that's coming up.
Okay.
We want to know about paced feeding. Like, do you know anything? Is that really more like an LC thing? There's this. It's not even a trend. I remember that we did it in the NICU for like my tiny babies. But instead of just giving the baby the bottle, there was like a paced feeding thing. Do you know anything about this?
Paste, like P-A-C-E-D. I think paste, like a thick paste.
No, that's funny. But no, I mean paste, as in the groove, as in the timing.
So it depends. Some babies. So I will say this: if you do want to breastfeed, you should never go above, like from the tap, as
that's my saying.
You're saying
it's not bad.
No, it's a good one. It is a tap-ish. Then you never want to go above a level 1 nipple because your boobs are not going to go out faster than that, and the bottle will. And so then sometimes older babies will get frustrated because if you've tried to breastfeed a 4-month-old in public, they're like total FOMO, and they're like this, they're all over the place. And so don't go too high. The other thing is with preemies or small babies, use a preemie nipple, use a slow flow nipple, so that helps pace it.
Yeah.
If your baby is guzzling and it's making them, spit up a lot or have a lot of gas, I think this is what you mean by paced feeding, is kind of doing it slowly.
Yes.
What I would say is I usually say as long as the baby's not pulling off, midway through the bottle and at the end is the time to get a burp.
Yes.
Because every ounce, your baby's crying, they're swallowing more air, they're hungry. So you kind of do it in that way, I think is the best way to do it so that you don't end up with too much gas. And then there are bottles that are better for gas-fed babies, gassy babies, not gas-fed.
Not gas-fed babies.
And then also there are bottles that more closely mimic the shape of the breast for babies who are having trouble with the transition.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of stuff out there. And I find, I'm sure you feel this way over the 13 years, but over the almost 15 years that I've been parenting, the difference in what's available, and honestly, the accessibility of organics is huge. I'm
still old, though, I have to say, bottle-wise, I'm still a giant fan of Dr. Brown's.
That's what I used with my kids.
It's just...
But I had my kids were gassy.
Me too. But,
we were Dr. Brown people.
But now they have the options bottle, so you can shuck that piece out in the center. That's so much better than when our babies were tiny.
Enough people like, my kids always use those, but Como Tomo is popular and Juvie the Boob.
Yeah, that's like the new trendy bottle.
I think those two most resemble,
it's the shape.
And the Juvie the Boob, the nipple has like some ripples, so it feels a little bit more like a nipple. But those are like good for babies who are having trouble adjusting from the
Yes. But if you have a baby, like if you are doing to the tap and bottle fed, you may want to consider one of those. But if you're just exclusively pumping, I do think that that venting system,
I really think it helped my kids.
I do too. We used 6 different bottles before we got to Dr. Brown's. This chick was projectile vomiting everywhere. It was like coming out like The Exorcist. And we switched, and while it still did happen, I'm not going to say it cured it totally, but it minimized it from 5 feeds to 3 feeds that we were losing everything.
Yeah, and it's not for, I like the options thing because it's not forever.
Yeah.
Because they don't need it.
Because it's a lot of that. Oh, we're so lazy. All right, guys. Well, we have good news for you. I want to say close because we're using our battery, which is fine. We're at the end of our chat.
Did we get a prize?
We got our last prize time. We don't know. Jewel, tell me who won. So tell us who won. Oh, the alkaline water. Is that okay to use with formula? Is alkaline water okay to use with formula? Rhea wants to know.
Alkaline water meaning that your tap water is a little more alkaline?
I imagine that's what she means.
So the recommendation is for the first 2 months to use either boiled water or the baby water, but after 2 months, and you can use water.
But what if you have your water tested? Do you ever have to use the baby water? You know that here in the city you can call 311. They send you bottles to fill up and do water testing. So it's all free, which I love, and they could test it. Because I remember in the NICU, I was like, we're going to do this, and she's like, that. She's like, you could just call and have your water tested. Plus, they test the water testing stations in the neighborhood. I had no idea that they did so. But not every municipality does that.
New York City water is excellent. New York City tap water in Alberta is great. But the CDC has come out with these new recommendations.
Hannah, by the way, won. Congratulations,
Yay,
Hannah! Woo, woo, woo. We do have one more prize time.
We do?
We do. Are you excited?
I am, because I want to pick something really crazy.
Okay, all right. So this is our final prize time. We're jumping right into the prize time.
Oh my God! No, you prize time while I think of my very
She's thinking,
wacky word.
She's thinking of her wacky word. While she's thinking of her wacky word, because we won't leave until we give away this prize, but I really do want to say thank you to Earth's Best and to Dr. Deena. You keep thinking. Don't worry about it. You have it? You think you have it?
I'm just trying to decide.
What if we just said thank you, Earth's Best? Come on. We like to do that.
Okay, I think we should say thank you, Earth's Best.
I
was going to go with Snuffleupagus.
That's too hard to spell. No, but we would kind of...
But anyway, the good news is that Sesame Street works with Earth's Best. So thank you, Earth's Best.
I always think that. Every time, there's no time that I never think about Sesame Street without Earth's Best, the way to grow. Like that's like it's embedded, imprinted is the word.
Yes, if you listen to my show. I want Cookie Monster cookies.
Cookies, well, hi. Genius Earth's Best, by the way. We have to say it. Of all the different
but low in sugar, organic, great in the lunchbox. I love it.
The Cookie Monster cookies? See, now I'm hungry. Just even thinking about cookies. I'm starving today.
Well, you know what's so lucky for you? It's holiday time and pediatricians get lots of gifts.
Ooh,
so we have snacks.
Yay! We love snack time too. So so just say thank you to Earth's Best and you will have a chance to win our last case of formula that we are giving away today. Honestly, I genuinely mean it. First of all, happy holiday.
Thank you.
Secondly, you know when like things are like meant to be, but this is like such a weird way to make them happen? Right? Because like truthfully, I just kind of went to somebody who was closest to my apartment because I didn't know where to go. And now, thanks to Earth's Best, so not only is Earth's Best there to provide great stuff for your babies and for formula and food and all that other great things, you guys have created a connection for me that's going to make a new years long, we have a while to go.
Yeah, I'm taking her to college.
Oh my gosh, I can't think about this right now. That's too stressful.
It's okay, let's just get to high school.
This whole thing.
One thing at a time.
And Baruch is right there. Like if she did go to Baruch High School,
she could just pop
in, do some filing for you after school.
We don't file.
That's it. Whatever. We could organize the Chucks And reload
And do you know
the
actually
cotton
sometimes
balls.
have students from Beacon intern here because they
That's
asked us to
great.
do that. Yeah.
I think internships are great. I loved working when I was younger. I worked all through high school. I loved it. And I do value, like, a lot, all that I've learned at that time. All right, guys. So, Jules, let me know. Matthew, we got a dad that one. Congratulations, Matthew. Yay. Well, happy holidays to everybody. Thanks again to Earth's Best. And once again, we're here at Premier Pediatrics in the heart of New York City. And during this whole time that we're doing this live feed, by the way, do you ever see celebrities across the street? So that's the Sony office across the street.
Yes, I know.
Do you
that.
look? Do you ever?
No,
Well, I just
I
noticed.
don't
I think
look.
there's a field trip or something.
I think I try to do my job.
Good for you. I would sit in here and eat lunch and then wait
And
for
be
like
like,
the Rock to go by. The kids and I just saw Jumanji last night, and like,
Sometimes there'll be people lined up everywhere.
yes,
I forget there was a celebrity that came. I'm not good
the
with that stuff.
paparazzi and stuff.
I'm not good with
Cool.
celebrities.
I would just have a pair of binoculars if this was the office that I worked in.
Okay, so when
And
you
I
come
would
for your
just-
well visit, we'll
This
just
is
set
gonna
you
be.
up.
I want to be in this room with my binoculars.
This
just
is a
looking
baby
at
room.
Sony.
Your kids are 13, but we can put you next door.
All right, my kids would be weirded out. Well, I'm super excited. Thank you so much, and thank you guys too for watching us. So hearts to you, hearts to Earth's Best.
Thank
of
you,
course.
everybody. Happy
Oh,
holidays.
look at that! Julie's giving them a $5 off coupon for Earth's Best.
That's great.
Wonderful. So there you go, guys. You could use that. That's our little gift
See,
from us to
making
you.
organic successful.
That's what we do, guys. So see you later, alligators. And yeah, if you need anything else, you could direct message us, and I will get the message to the doc and see if we can get her to answer some more questions.
I'll
if you have any.
definitely be available to answer
Well,
questions.
I'll bring them when I come with the 20s.
Yeah,
I'll bring
or
my
you can
list
message
of
me.
questions.
Or I'll try to pay attention to the feed and answer.
All right. See you later, alligators.
Bye,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.